All right, so hello everybody. We're starting another hangout on air to discuss traditions on the Chinese martial arts. We have at this time masters and practitioners of Wing Tsun from Brazil, Spain, and the United States. We have a special guest tonight, Bernardo, a musician and actor by trade and one of a handful of students to learn the Wing Tsun system from Wong Chun Leo in Hong Kong in 1970s.
As Mr. Renato said, tonight we have a special guest with us, which I consider a good example of how someone can handle the tradition nowadays. He is my senior, he's Nino Bernardo, and he's a famous practitioner from Wong Chun Leong family. But more important than famous, he's a real hero, serious one. So I consider him a lot. So I believe tonight we'll have a very great night to discuss different ideas about tradition.
Thank you. And we also have Master Nathaniel Rosa, who's been with us for the many, Google Hangouts on there that we've done in the past. Good evening, Nathan.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again. So I hope everybody enjoying this night. Thank you.
So I would like to start this hangout of today asking about the meaning of the word Sifu. We'd like to be discussing today some of the traditions of the martial arts, in particular, what it means to be a master, what it means to be Sifu, what are some of the traditions involved in that. And so I would like to start by asking, what is the meaning of the word Sifu?
So I believe Sifu is, you have two kinds of Sifus. One is referred to a tutor, instructor, and the other from someone who accepts you as a disciple. But in this case, the character is different because it's more like a father, a Kung Fu father, let's say. So I don't believe you have a similar aspect of this in our culture, mainly in American culture, or even, and we talk about in the European culture, we talk about the master. It's not the same, because when you talk about joint family, it's something very serious in Chinese culture. Of course, myself, when I joined the Moy Yat family, I have some idea about this, but just theoretical. I have some experience in the Kung Fu here in Brazil with Sifu, Li Hong Ki, but actually, I just start to leave something related with this when I joined the Moy Yat family. And by the time, it was pretty difficult for me to understand few things. But the meaning for me, the Sifu, is a challenge because how to transport this concept, this notion to our culture. I think this is the key. And unfortunately, we have a lot of misunderstanding. I do hope during this next 1 hour we can discuss at least, I don't say clarify totally, but give some tools to the other Kung Fu practitioners to study and understand more about the nature of some Kung Fu relationship, such as Sifu to Dai, as I said.
Thank you, Master. I would like to ask Nino, Bernardo, if you have any comments, if you'd like to comment on the question.
Sifu is the word for father in Cantonese, and I believe Si is probably whatever his special skills are. And in a very strict sense, in the old-fashioned way, the Sifu takes over a father's role. In some cases, they say that Sifu is more important than your biological father. Very often, a parent would take a child to a Sifu and ask him to accept this child, and the child will basically be taught and brought up by the Sifu. That's the old way. In some cases, you have to ask if a Sifu will allow you to call him Sifu. That's a form of acceptance. The other Sifu would be a carpenter or a mechanic or a engineer. When you take your car to the garage, you will say, Sifu, would you fix my car? Or if you go to the carpenter and ask him to fix some furniture in your house, you say, Sifu, can you do this for me? And that's a different Sifu. You do not call his wife Sifu. But in Kung Fu, the wife of your teacher becomes like your mother. And yes, I agree with what Sifu Imamura say, that there is no equivalent in the Western culture. Okay? And it's very, very difficult for the Western mind to perceive the Oriental value of a Sifu. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense, and begs another question is, how have you experienced this challenge of explaining to Westerners the meaning of Sifu, or at least for them to understand this aspect of the Chinese tradition?
I didn't try to explain that. When my Sifu came over and they could see that I was behaving towards my Sifu in a different way. They see the way I talk to my Sifu, they see the way my Sifu talks to me. And my Sifu and I, we both know that we are in a different culture. My students did not, they were mostly in London, in England. And my Sifu came over. We didn't go to Hong Kong. I sent many of my students to Hong Kong so that they can live for a little while and see what it's like over there. But I made no effort to try and clarify the difference between two cultures. I just took it, I just lived it.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much, Nino.
You're welcome.
Nathaniel?
So, Master Lee Imamura. So, as a Western, in a Western community in martial arts, sometimes we we use the term master to someone who have ability in martial arts. But what's the difference between being a Sifu and being a master?
Oh, this is a very tough question, eh? Because we talk about different things, different aspects, and unfortunately many people consider it the same. So when you are one Sifu, allows you to have a Kung Fu family. Sometimes yourself decide to have one, but most of times Sifu allows you to have. So you can consider yourself a Sifu because you are a certain student. That's a kind of full Nino mentioned as a father. So they call you Sifu, just Sifu. No Sifu Nathaniel or Sifu whatever. Because Sifu you have just one. Supposed to have just one. You know? So same way, Nino had just one shonen sipak as a sifu, and I had Moy Yat sikung as a sifu. You know, so we consider just one. Even myself, I have a sifu before, but himself allows me to have just, consider just Moy Yat as my sifu. But of course, in Chinese, people said once you call one sifu for one day, it's sifu forever. You know, so sifu is someone, anyone can be sifu. Just have a student. If you have a student, you can consider yourself as a sifu because someone call you sifu. And Nino point out a very important aspect because nowadays we have a lot of confusion of the relationship. Some as more formal, some not so formal. For example, in our family, Moya family, so we have when Sifu open the Kung Fu, we call Hoi Kun. So then consider the person as a member of family. So of course, in other situation, maybe they have something different. We must remember. That's why I'm glad to have Nino here because he learned his Kung Fu in Hong Kong. So he's in a Chinese environment. I learned in New York. So there, even the Chinese community is so strong, but we are in a foreign place or place. And plus, you know, New York is a very a modern city, very capitalist. So not many people care about the Chinese culture, mainly those days. Maybe now a little more because the importance of China, but not those days. So one thing I think is very interesting is the same way Nino mentioned, he didn't want to clarify the way, the students, the sexual relationship, because the student cannot learn this by listening. He's just learning by living. So the same way my Sifu used to do in New York. Of course, he was very criticized by doing this, but just putting us in a comfort situation. And we are discovering by ourselves. That's why some develop more than others, just because who really want to go into the Kung Fu nature or the Kung Fu world. Some they just want to learn some technique. That's it. You know. Some they really want to join the family, and they really have the nature of Todai. You know. So not just a Hoxa, but Todai. So this is kinda interesting because when come out of the term of master, this term or this name or this title, whatever you can call, this relate more than how much you master the system. So because to join, to have access to the system, in our case, the Ving Tsun system, we need to join the family. Of course, nowadays, you don't have to. You can go to the seminar or go to a gym and have some Wing Tsun instructor. But all days, both aspects are related. Let's say if you want to have some access to the system, since the Sunim Tao to Pachamto, you must join the family before. And plus, the disciple ceremony that you call by sea. Of course, in Hong Kong days, Nino can explain even better than me. It's a little different, but still, and they have the nature in the air because they're in China, supposed to in the Chinese community. But in New York, Grão-mestre Moy Yat must have more create some situations to let people understand without explain it, without theorize it, without create theories about it, because this is not school. This is a Kung Fu. And Kung Fu is not related to school. It's a different way to learn. It's not theory and practice. This is Greek, not Chinese. So when you understand this, then you can enjoy more the Kung Fu. So nowadays, of course, you accept, but I dare to tell you, many few really legitimately can hold the kind of title, the master, because unfortunately nowadays, not many people understand the nature of a Wing Tsun system. They think it's just a technique, just a Kung Fu system, which is a little bit different.